Is a hard pill to swallow. America needs an overdose. Become truth's junkie. Use sorrow's tears to wash it down. Wolves in sheep's clothing unfolding lies. Truth! Set us free. Digging through the lies, finding you beneath the filth of hate and deceit. Truth! Bring us to our knees. Bent over in repentance, repeating the past, retreating. Don't ask, don't tell me no lies. Pop these pills of the truth is a hard pill to swallow. Coughing up these lies, choking my cognitive, distancing me from things unseen, confusing the very fibers of my being, my membranes, remembering, distorting my brain cells, brain dead to lies, brainwashed in truth, baptized in a new baptism. Is all forgiven? Repentance, recompense, making lies make sense, nonsense. Take this pill, pillow soften the blows of confusion, pillow talking life and death, eating the fruit of the seed you sown, reaping harvest unknown.
Hello, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to Change the Channel, No Static, No Interference. I am your host, Lisa L. Yeomans, and I have with me tonight my special guest, Art Powell. I am the founder of Change Gonna Come, a voice in the fight for justice, a hand in building community, and a key to unlocking freedom. So again, welcome to Change the Channel. To all my replay viewers, my podcasters, thank you for listening in. Thank you for joining. Go ahead and share the broadcast out and tag someone, invite someone to come in and sit down and have a conversation with us. If you have any questions, you can put those in the comments section below, and I do invite you to engage in the conversation that we are having on this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my special guest on tonight, and we're going to go ahead and get into our conversation. So Art Powell is a credible messenger, life skills coach, and has started his own company, Egress Consultants and Services. Author Powell's curriculums, project groups, reentry, and project egress for at-risk youth and young adults to empower its participants to become successful by equipping them with tools in character development, life skills, cognitive behavior, and restorative justice. The purpose of the curriculums is to deprogram its participants from a destructive and criminal mindset and help them change their mindset to become productive people in society. These curriculums are used at Metro Reentry Facility, Georgia Department of Corrections, and Atlanta YDC, Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice. Art Powell's expertise has been sought after by national networks like the History Channel's Gangland HL in Network, America Behind Bars, CNN's Newsroom, and Destination America's Prison Inc. He has been featured on FGTV's Writers in Focus, hosted by James Taylor, and Channel 3's In Contact, hosted by Angela Robinson. He is also featured in an upcoming docuseries, Gang Gang ATL and Dawn of the A. Art Powell also has several programs he has developed: bullying and gang violence prevention, intervention workshops, staff parents community training workshop, Project Egress, Era of New Leaders, Road to Entrepreneurship, and Project Roots, and also Project Mails, MAILS. So Art, thank you again for being my special guest on tonight. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So we started out with all the good stuff. All of your accomplishments and the great things that you're doing right now, but it haven't always been that way. Something happened to lead you up to that point. So I just want you to tell us about your story and then really why you started your business, Egress.
Okay. So I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Me and my family migrated here when I was about 5 years old. It was a lot going on up there with my mother and stuff like that. So my grandmother wanted her to come here so things could be better. Mm-hmm. And, my family was impacted by a lot of trauma, a lot of different things. I grew up an angry young man, very angry. I met my father when I was 13. I didn't see him again until I was 31 in a prison environment. So not understanding you know, the trauma that's been impacted by adults. It confused me. So I started committing crimes at the age of 13. Stealing, doing all kind of stuff. And in 1984, when I turned 15, I joined the gang. And at that particular time, unbeknownst to me, the crack era was surging real heavy here in Atlanta, and so I knew a lot of people that were selling drugs, but I didn't really get involved at the time. I was doing other things, particularly being around my gang members or whatnot. So I really wasn't knowledgeable about it. It just came about, and then I started seeing uh, a lot of different people from different places that were involved in gangs, and those people actually um, had ill intentions, and they were literally running people out of their neighborhoods.
Mm.
We had gangs coming here from Chicago, from LA, from New York, Detroit, Florida, and they basically, when they came, they was coming into these neighborhoods in Atlanta, and they was basically running people out of their neighborhoods. And there were a lot of killings and a lot of robberies, a lot of different things that were going on at that time frame. And me and my homeboys and me and the guys from my neighborhood, we basically came together because we wasn't going to allow what we call outsiders come in and run us from our neighborhoods or tell us what we couldn't do in our neighborhoods. And at that in the late 80s and the early 90s, Atlanta had a lot of violence, a lot of death, a lot of drug problems within the city, with these migrating gangs in the hybrid and neighborhood gangs that were establishing themselves here.
Mm.
And at the time, I really wasn't. I didn't have any fear, and I learned that a person that doesn't have hope is a dangerous individual. And
Mm.
I think I was a contributor and a partaker in the high crime that was going on here in Atlanta back in the 80s and the late 80s and the early 90s. And eventually, the crimes I committed actually sent me to prison. So in October 1993, I was incarcerated. I had been involved in a serious crime that involved police and robbery. And so from October 1993 to April 2005, April 18th to be exact, was the day I was released, April 18th, 2005, I served 11 and a half years in the Georgia penal system here.
Mm.
So I went to 6 different prisons in the state. And, it was an experience for me. My first 8 years, I was doing time in prisons um, with closed security facilities, which were a step down from maximum security prisons, because most of the guys that I was incarcerated with in those different facilities had life sentences or better. They had, I would say 85% of the guys I was doing time with had life sentences or better. They had a lot of time, and they had committed some of the most heinous crimes you can possibly imagine. So me having my sentence that I had, I didn't really uh, I didn't really know how. I knew how to maneuver, but it was more so just trying to stay alive. And I can't give it to you any more realer than that.
Yeah.
Every day that I woke up, I was wondering if there was a possibility I could lose my life, because there were a lot of stabbings, there were a lot of things going on in those facilities. I would say my gift and my curse was every prison I went to, people knew who I was, so I didn't have to deal with a lot of um, being victimized or deal with a lot of things like that. So that was my gift. My curse was that every time that something happened with Atlanta, because at that time, um, it was about what city you was from. You had a few gangs, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now in the system back when I was doing time. And that's when I came up with the concept for Egress. I knew when I got out, I wanted to give back. I wanted to, you know, tell the young people about, you know, what prison was like, so they wouldn't have to experience what I experienced. So um, the acronym I came up with was Ex Gangster, Reviewing Experiences, Suffering and Surroundings, which is what I want to do through my testimony, sharing my life story. And at that time, I had started working on a book too. So and then when I really looked at, I went to the dictionary. I don't know why it came up in my mind. I was trying to be creative and think of an acronym. I came up with the acronym. I said I needed something to correlate with the acronym. So, I went through the dictionary and I found out that egress, the definition for egress is a path or way out, a means of exit. As a matter of fact, on the exit signs, you could see the word egress on the exit side. So I was like, okay, this is a nice concept. This is a dope concept. It goes with what I'm trying to do, because at the same time, my purpose was to help young people exit the lifestyles they were living if they were involved in gangs or involved in crimes by, sharing my testimony. And at the time, I had no idea I would create curriculum and accomplish a lot of the accolades and a lot of things I've accomplished over the years. So, when I was released from prison, I was scared. I mean, because I didn't have, things were different. I didn't want to go back to prison. I didn't want to get caught up. And so I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And when me and my ex-wife got married back in 2005, I had met my pastor, Pastor Dear Hopkins, who is from my neighborhood. He's younger than me, and so he knew about me. He knew, who I was as an individual, my past, and he seen that I was trying to turn my life around. So he became my biggest supporter, my mentor, my brother, my friend, all those things wrapped up in one. Somebody I confided in, someone I looked to. Even though he was younger than me, he was like a father figure to me. He helped me get a sense of direction. He pushed me, he came to me. He was like, God told me to tell you to start a program. And I was like, start a program? He was like, yeah, you got to work with kids. I was like, man, ain't nobody going to let me talk to their kids. So, so we went back and forth with that for a while, because I felt people didn't want to hear what I had to say. I thought people would judge me or be critical of me because of my background, being involved in, gangs and being a former gang leader and some of the things I've done in my lifetime. And, I got my first opportunity to work with young people or mentor young kids, and they were at my church. And then that was in 2006, and pretty much I haven't looked back from there. It was like, word of mouth, people that were credible. I have about 10 mentors that have been very very instrumental in me being who I am today. Even when I had my moments where I was I didn't want to do this work. I was like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I don't want to deal with this, because it was frustrating. Because, I tell people all the time, if you in it for the money, it's not it's not going to work for you. If that's what your initial intention is, to get money. Mentoring and working with, at-risk youth is not the field for you, because it wasn't, it took me years to be incredible in establishing programs and working with different government entities, working with Clayton County Public Schools and Fulton County Juvenile Court, the DeKalb County Juvenile Court, the United States Attorney's Office, Department of Juvenile Justice, all these agencies I've worked with over the past 15 years. I've been doing this work. It was based on, they seen my passion, and they seen the effectiveness that I had on the young people that I work with, and they could see the transition as well. And so I basically created my curriculum off the things that I think I lacked as a young man. I didn't know how to. I didn't have a clue that traumatic experiences affected my life, and growing up, like dealing with guys like me that had the same background, coming from single parent households, absent fathers, um, being abandoned, losing people we loved to death, and even something as simple as relocating. It has an impact on young people, on children, and it spirals out of control. And if it's not dealt with, then it can make a young person turn into somebody like me, and be angry and not know why you're angry, why you're hurting, or how to deal with that, or how to heal from the trauma. So dealing with trauma, dealing with the stress and pressures of growing up, how to deal with conflict. Those are things that are those life skills and character development skills that are not taught in school systems. And a lot of times our children are not taught those things at home. So they basically just out here winging it, trying to figure out based off what they see, how to maneuver through life. And I wanted to be able to create a platform for them so they can have a voice, and also be able to look at their lives and the things they need to change about themselves, and give them the tools to be able to do that effectively.
Yeah. And that's awesome. You said so much. Now I'm going to be looking at exit signs. So I can see this egress, which is absolutely awesome.
Right.
But one of the things you said was when you came out and you start creating your curriculums, and what I thought about was that the some of the things that we do, those things are already inside of us already.
Right.
It's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like you said, when you're dealing with trauma and you don't have the direction, you're not able to see those things. But I just think it's awesome that those things was always on the inside of you. And now you're in a place where you're speaking to youth so that what's on the inside of them, they don't have to go through what you went through in order for those things to come out. So I thought that was a great thing. And then what was also interesting was you said you was afraid that you was going to lose your life in prison. But was that the same type of fear you had when you was out doing the things that you were doing? Were you not afraid that you was going to lose your life out there while you was in the gang or anything like that?
No, I wasn't.
You wasn't?
I was. It was like I was so angry, and I was so just. I didn't have any hope. I lived day to day, and it was like, and I love money, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get money. So it made me desensitized to people, my feelings. I didn't show my emotions. I didn't believe in showing my emotions. And so I didn't care. I just every day I woke up, it was like, if it whatever gonna happen today is gonna happen today, whether I live or I die. I think once I got incarcerated and I really sat down and I really tuned into who I was, I realized I didn't have an identity. I had spent my whole life pleasing other people. And I think it was at that moment that I really started to tap into the spirit, the God spirit in me, wanting to know if I would be forgiven for the things I had done. I really wanted to draw myself closer to God, which I always believed in a higher power. I just never embraced a religion, and I had never been in a position where I really wanted mercy, wanted grace. I wanted to turn my life around. I didn't want to stay in an environment. I had a son, he was 3.5 years old at the time when I got incarcerated. He was 15 when I was released. And I was beating myself up about the fact that, I had did the same thing to my son my father did to me. I abandoned him.
Oh, wow.
And so it tugged at my spirit so hard that I said, I can't leave out the same man I came in. And so that's what started my journey of, getting counseling, getting my education, taking self-help classes, just to really try to tap into the areas of my life I needed to work on. And it's at that moment that I gained a conscience. Like I realized like there are so many things that I can do, or so many things I want to do. I haven't done it. And I don't want to die here. You know, I want to die. When I leave here, I want to be able to change people's perception of me. I didn't want that. I didn't want that to be my legacy. I didn't want to be remembered as he was a criminal. He was in a gang and he did this. Like I wanted, like if I died today, I would die peacefully, because I know when I pass, like even if people brought up the fact that my past, they would have to add the accomplishments and the things, how I've impacted people's lives in the past 15 years. So when people have conversations with my children, they might say, yeah, your daddy used to do this, but then they have to say, but your daddy did some great things. Your father accomplished a lot of things. He changed a lot of lives. He impacted a lot of lives. He empowered a lot of people. He helped people transform their lives and become successful. Yeah. So, and that's pretty much like, I just didn't want to, I don't want to die in a place where I didn't have a chance to redeem myself.
Yeah. Yeah, so you didn't want to die hopeless, which
right.
In the beginning you were saying like a person without hope is a very dangerous thing. So you realized you didn't want to die in there. And I was going to ask you about that too, because I was looking at one of your old interviews, and you were saying you had made your mind up that when you came out, you was not going to come out the same way that you went in. Correct. And I think you talked about a little bit about what changed, and that had a lot to do with your son. Mm-hmm. So other than your son and you just not wanting to die hopeless, was there any other factors involved that when I leave out of here, life is going to be different for me?
Oh yeah,
and I'm not coming back here.
I tell people all the time, I was a slave. Mm-hmm. I when I look at the 11 and a half years I was incarcerated, I literally was a slave. My life was dictated every day. Wow. 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. I had no control over nothing I said, nothing I did. I was a slave. I got up when they told me to get up. I took a shower when they told me to take a shower. I went outside when they let me go outside. I watched TV when they let me watch TV. I got on the phone when they let me get on the phone. I ate whatever they wanted to feed me. I had no control of my life whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I was literally a slave, and I never want to be in a position like that. I was considered state property. Mm-hmm. They didn't even call us by our names. They called us, we were identified by EF numbers, by state numbers, because we were state property. And that was the most demeaning thing that anyone could possibly experience, and I'm not trying to justify, me, the way I was being treated, as saying it was wrong, but I was a criminal. And at that time, I was treated as a criminal. And I didn't really value my life until I was in that, until I experienced that. Like, I never want to live like this again. I never want to share a cell with a man the size of a bathroom, and I don't know what's on his mind, who he is, who this individual is. Every night I got to lock down with this man. I don't know anything about him other than what he shares with me. And that was, the feeling of helplessness. One of the feelings of helplessness that I experienced. And I said, I never want to experience this again.
Wow. That's something that you really didn't value the freedom until you didn't have it anymore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's for a lot of people in a lot of different situations. Other than going to prison, you take for granted the things you have every day until those things are taken away from you.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. And also, you deal mainly with youth now. Is that correct?
Well, it's a little. It's both. I did. Well, no, I work more with young adults
Young adults. Okay.
and adults. For the past 5 years, my focus has been more so on reentry. Um,
Okay.
and that's what made me really push my curriculum, because I work with young men coming from YDCs in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and I also work with adult males returning home from the prison system, helping them get reacclimated with um, society. So um, in 2018, well, we're really back in 2016, I got a contract with United States Attorney's Office.
Okay.
And we were going into the middle schools and high schools doing this doing this forum called Real Talk About the Law, where myself, somebody from uh, the DA's office, and someone from law enforcement, we would go into the middle schools and high schools and talk to young people and just tell them about the consequences that come with committing crime. And so, the United States Attorney's Office, they liked the work that I did, and so they wanted me to come on as a partner, to be a part of an initiative called Project Safe Neighborhoods, where and that was part of the initiative, but there was another part of it, because our target audience were documented gang members or people who
Okay.
had used guns in crimes,
Mm-hmm.
and so they wanted me to be involved in their reentry um, part. And my boss, Dr. Wiley, Dr. Danielle Wiley, United States Attorney's Office, she asked me what could we do, and I said we need to go inside. So we partner with different organizations to see how we can basically make that work.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of all the years I've been doing the work, there was no data to support the work that I did. And
Oh,
so her being a researcher, she researched it and found out about the Credible Message Justice Center in New York City, where the Credible Messenger movement started. And we were invited to go to a 3-day experience to see what they were doing in New York, as far as like utilizing people like myself that had a background, and how they utilized them in New York. And they had been partnered with probation officers and doing all these different things, and it just blew us away. And so we became a part of their initiative, and we actually went to Washington D.C. and see that they had a juvenile facility where they were employed. They employed credible messengers, and how that facility ran smoothly, because they mediated situations. They stopped a lot of things from going on, so it was good to see that going on. And so I we were talking, and we said, you know what, we need to start our own faction down in the South. And
mm-hmm.
so we reached out to them. They came down and gave us some training in 2019, to actually be a part of their initiative. And so we called
Okay.
ourselves the Southeast Credible Messengers. And that's when I met Miss Takesha Shields, Miss
Mm-hmm.
TK, because she's one of the partnering organizations that are part of the Southeast Credible Messengers.
Yes.
And so, we looked at all the different things that we need to do. We wanted to be able to provide wraparound services for these young men and young women when they came home, to if they needed housing, if they needed employment, counseling. We even partnered with an organization that does tattoo removal for guys that got tattoos in their faces.
Okay.
Then we partnered with a law firm that did pro bono for the guys that had issues as far as child support or whatever. So, they could get their licenses back and, do what they need to do to, to
Right.
get a step closer to being successful upon their release. And so it's been working. We have a 96% success rate.
Wow.
Out of the people that we work with. We haven't had anybody recidivist. We haven't had uh, we had, but I'm saying it's like 96% of the people or the men that we've worked with, they're still out. They haven't been reincarcerated. They have families, they have jobs. Some of them are entrepreneurs. So we've been blessed to have I've been blessed to be a part of a wonderful group of people. We're like a family. We support each other. You know, we meet monthly. We try to make sure it's no ill feelings going on. Ain't no animosity. There's no big eyes, little U's. We're all the same. And I think that's what has made us be effective and be as impactful as we have been for the past few years.
That's awesome, because I never knew that it started. I always thought it started in Atlanta, the Credible Messenger.
Oh no, it started in New York. They've been doing it about 20 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they've been in the trenches for a long time. And then it wasn't, but the beautiful thing about it is that there are credible messengers across the country. We got credible messages in Florida, Mississippi,
Okay.
Chicago, LA, Oakland, Texas. I mean, we're literally, when we went to Washington, DC about 2 years ago, it was people from all over the country. I swear it was about 300 of us in a 4-day conference. And, I got a chance to network and meet people from all over the country that were doing the same work or doing, that had been doing the work and just doing it. Everybody was doing it on different levels and had their own programs going on and stuff like that. But the work was being done. And that's the thing that people don't talk about. We don't promote, or the media doesn't promote the people that's out here in the trenches that's actually doing the work and making the impact. They try to focus on the violence, but you're not looking at the people that are out here, the interrupters, the credible messengers, the people who are out here actually mediating and stopping some of these gang wars and stopping things from happening before they happen. They just focus on the few things that do happen, and they don't focus on the people that's out here doing the work passionately.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I was thinking about too. There are not enough organizations that's being highlighted,
right,
in media, which is one of the reasons I do this show, because I want to highlight the organizations that's within our communities that's doing the work, that's helping our youth or men and women coming out of prison. Like you said, y'all have a 96% rate of people not going back or not being reincarcerated. So I think that's awesome. And of course, we know mainstream is not going to say that.
Of course
that there 500 shootings. Well, I know that's a big number. 50 people died or 10 people were shot at this event. But then what about, okay, but if you need help, these are some organizations. Now we know we're not going to see that, in a perfect world, but we're not in a perfect world. So I'm glad that these organizations are there and that people can know about them to get the help. Because here's the thing, everybody that's out doing the things that they're doing, that society sees like a menace to society, or they're in gangs, everybody doesn't want to be there. Some people just don't know how to come out of it. And some people just don't see another choice before them, within their neighborhoods or within their communities. But when we know that these things are there, there's just more help for our communities, that people don't have to go down the same path as you did. You're stopping people from doing that. And when you were speaking, I thought about like an intercessor, because that's kind of like what you are in a sense, because you're stopping people from crossing over into something that's going to destroy their lives, or going to take them away from their families. Like you said, it took you away from your son, and you realized you did the same thing that your father did, not intentionally, but that's what happened. And I was also listening to a couple of things. One of the things when I was reading your bio, you say you deprogram people. And I know that has a lot to deal with the mindset. So just talk about that, because the mindset is a very important thing. Most people end up in the situations they're in because of the mindset. So talk about the deprogramming that you take people through.
Well, I mean, people always say, well, how, you can't get people out of gangs, and people ain't gonna do this, and you know, even people that commit crime. Like myself and so many guys that I did time with, and so many men I've been working with over the past 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset. You got to understand a lot of young people or a lot of adults that are involved in crime or criminal activity. At one point in time, they were conditioned to think that it's okay and it's normal to do these things because that's what they've seen in their environment. And I'm using me for an example. When I grew up, I always hear people say, you know, right from wrong. But if you grow up in a community where drug dealing is normal and gang banging is normal, and women being abused is normal, you're going to think that that's right because you haven't been taught anything contrary to that. And so even though you may go to school for 8 hours and deal with some educators that act like, oh, they show you that they're concerned about your education, and others that say, oh, you know, you're gonna go to prison, somebody gonna kill you, you ain't gonna live to see 18.
Wow.
And a lot of our youth, a lot of our children hear this in an educational environment. So how can you say that person actually knows right or wrong when they haven't been taught anything contrary to that? If my mother was a gang member and she's imparting all these things in me, I'm going with what my mother says, because for me, that's right. So what we have to do is, or what I noticed we had to do, and I always use myself as an example, I had to change my mindset. I had to go from a neighborhood, suburban mentality to a worldly mentality. I had to look at the opportunities that were out here for me. Like a lot of guys that I work with, they never had a job. So I have to teach them or show them or give them tools to show them that you don't have any other options. You can't go back to what you know. That doesn't work. You've tried this numerous times and it's not working. It's not productive for you. And you're back in this situation a third time. That means you need to do something different. You're going to have to get a job. And upon getting a job, you know, you can eventually branch off if it's your choice to become an entrepreneur. But it's steps to that. You know, like I said, we got to address trauma. You know, when I ask a lot of people, what was that moment? What was that defining moment in your life that made you change as an individual? We've all had those moments, that shocking incident in our life that made us angry, made us feel like we had to fight, made us feel like we had to, you know, defend ourselves, or even for some, convert to committing criminal activity. For example, if you got a young man whose mother's on crack and she's getting high all the time and she's not feeding him and his siblings, what do you think he's gonna do? He gonna go steal something. Survival instincts is going to kick in. We gotta, you know, ain't nobody helping us. Either I gotta go steal something from the store, or I gotta go talk to the drug dealer to see if he'll give me a sack so I can make some money, because my mama not here. And then when she come down off her high, she sleep for 2 or 3 days, and me and my siblings gotta eat. So it's things like that we have to get them to change their mindset about. And so when you look at trauma, when you look at, you know, your character, because that's another thing that we focus on, your character. You know, it defines who you are. And I always ask my people, ask people in my sessions, do you care about what people think about you? Most people say no. No, I don't care what people think about me. I say, you don't lie. Yes, you do. There are some people you are concerned about how they view you or what they think about you, and you want to impress them. I said, for the mass majority, you may not care about them because they don't know you, but you should care about how they view you as well, because your first impression is everything. And so it's just getting them to understand the importance of having good character, healing from trauma, learning how to deal with conflict and learning how to deal with your anger, because people are always going to make you angry, but just because somebody make you angry doesn't mean that you curse them out or you slap them or put hands on them. That's not right. That's against the law. So just trying to teach them the basic thing, and then really get them to understand the importance of consequences. If you don't make these adjustments, these are the consequences you're going to have to deal with again. So
yeah, that was, see, look, I'm going to ask you something written, and then you talk about it. So I was the one thing was choices, decisions, and consequences. And I think that's good that when you're deprogramming the mind, that people are able to make different choices, make different decisions, so the outcome is always going to be different. But that is so true what you were saying, when people like, right from wrong, but what's right to you?
Right.
This is what I'm seeing every day. This is what I'm told. Then this is right, even though it's wrong.
It's society's eyes. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Because this is what you know. Yeah. So even with the even when you're talking to the youth that are maybe going down a different path and different things like that, I think that's good that you get them earlier. You get them early, and you can change their minds earlier, rather than going to visit someone now they got doing a life sentence or 10 years, or they in prison, like I think you say he was in there 11 years, but you're changing their minds early, which I think is very important. And I don't know, I'm not really sure, but do you one of your programs, I know you do young adults, do you do also something with parents and children?
Yeah. But our organization, that's where I have worked with them in the past, but working with Southeast Credible working with the Southeast Credible Messengers, that kind of eased a lot of that, trying to deal with parents. That's why we have family engagement specialists like Miss TK, Tatisha Shields, and Mimi English. They and Kim Martin. They deal with the family component. They they work with the parents, and just try to see what's going on in the household, how we can provide services and support for them to make the relationship with their children easier, and also relieve a lot of anxieties or stress they may be dealing with, which we all know that sometimes parents can take it out on their children. So we try to deal with the whole family, not just that youth or that young adult that we have to work with. We try to tap into the caregiver or the parent or the grandparent, whoever they're staying with, and say, okay, look, how can we help you have a healthy relationship with your child, and what resources do you need to make this, to make it easier for you. And even if that's counseling, if they need family counseling, we have an organization that called Odyssey that provides 8 weeks of counseling for the family. So we've been blessed to have multiple organizations to be a part of Southeast Credible Messengers and partner with Southeast Credible Messengers and be able to provide those wraparound services to increase the chances of that young person or that adult that's coming home be successful.
And that's good. And the part I like about it too is that you're assisting the whole family,
right?
Not just one person. Because sometimes you see situations where someone is getting help and the other person is not. So it's still like an imbalance, or a certain type of breakdown within the home. And then the person that's getting help is like, if they're not at a place where they're strong enough, they're always going to be pulled back in by those in their family that's not getting the help, or if they keep coming home seeing the same thing over and over. It's easier for someone to just say, forget it. You tell me you got here, but when I come home, the place where we're supposed to be safe, the place where we're supposed to get love and nourishment, and I'm seeing this over here, it's just, it's like, forget it. So,
and that's what makes it hard and complicated working with young people, because what we're teaching them or the things we're trying to share with them is not being reinforced at home.
At home.
So
Okay.
that's why when we seen that wasn't like, this kid could be like excited about, oh, I'm changing, my thinking is changing, stuff like this. But the next week you see them, they back where they used to be. So we got to put all this work in to build them back up. And when they go back into that environment, so he's like, no, we gotta go check on mom and dad and grandma, whoever, and see what's going on with them. So, you know, they can help participate in the transition or the transformation of this young person and increase their chances of being successful.
So it's like you're actually building the support system for the child. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So you're doing like the work here, then you're just going like deeper, because y'all realize you have to have the support system in there. Because talk about that, the support system when you're especially dealing with a young person and then an adult, because if someone is coming out of prison as an adult, they still need the support system. So talk about the support system and then, you know, the importance of that and how to build a support system and how someone can create their own support system to help them.
Well, you know, when we would start looking at stuff like that, and you know, I always say you know, because I've been doing the work a little longer than some of my partners, but we all collectively meet and put our minds together and our heads together and try to see how we can be most effective working with it. I think one of the things that was instrumental for me upon my release was I did have support. I came home. You know, I stayed with my mother temporarily. Her boyfriend helped me get my first job. I eventually got engaged to my ex-wife, and you know, she was a means of support. Some of my friends, some of my mentors. So I always had people in my life who pushed me, who encouraged me, who believed in me when I started this journey. I also had people that laughed at me and was like, "Man, ain't nobody." And so what I try to do is try to get people to understand you don't need to be. I'm not attached to nothing with no one negative in my life.
Okay.
If you don't support my vision, or if you don't, and when I mean support my vision, I don't mean financially. But if I'm sharing with you about things that's going on with me, you don't support what I do or believe in it, why should I be attached to you?
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people need to start getting away from. I don't believe in all the stuff about, you need to let your family members treat you any kind of way or talk down on you or affect your self-esteem or not be a support system as well as your friends. So I always try to tell people, check the people that's attached to you. If the people that are attached to you don't believe in you, aren't empowering you, pushing you to be better or encourage you to be better, while you're attached to them.
Right.
Why stay connected to somebody if you say, man, I was thinking about starting my own business. Why you gonna do that? That don't make sense. Where you gonna get the money from? I mean, because you know what I'm talking about. You have people like that in your life. And so for me, that's a flag. That's what I'm saying. I don't, you need to get that negative energy off around me. I don't, if I'm sharing you, hey, I did this and this, I had a meeting today and the meeting went well, I'm to partner with this organization to do that and that. Why you want to do that? What you getting out of the deal? Well, you know what I mean? You got people like that that just always negative, and so I think it's extremely important that you have people that do that. And so what we try to do is that's what we do with our mentees. We sit down with them, we work a plan. What are your dreams? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Because I got guys I got one guy that was a gang member. He was an artist. He wanted to be an artist, but he couldn't tell his homeboys he wanted to be an artist. And so finding it out, finding he loved to draw. He's very creative. I met somebody that helped him get into the Atlanta Art Institute. and
Mm.
he's turned his life around. So it's all about trying to find out what the kids like and attaching outside of them be attached to a mentor, attach them to a person of interest that can help them accomplish their
Wow.
goals or what it is that they're trying to do. And that what it does is it builds their self-esteem. It empowers them, it helps them to be more confident about who they are, and they continue to strive, and they're excited about what's going on new in their life. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it is. We try to support them like that.
Yeah, and that is so true about staying away from negative people
Oh yeah.
that don't support what it is that you're into, and people that's saying that little business, you know how people they hey, how that little business go? Yeah,
Them indirect messages. You understand what I'm saying? I don't, you need to go and get off around me. See,
yeah. I
I'm
had
like,
someone
oh,
say
yeah.
that to me, like, that little thing you doing or whatever. So I just stopped talking to that person about my dreams because it's big to me.
Exactly. That's what
So
I'm saying.
yeah, that's important. Our support system, who we're connected to, because look, people you connected to will kill you off, literally.
Been doing it forever. I tell
Yeah.
people this all the time.
Hmm.
I tell people this. Your biggest dream killers and the people you're less likely going to get support from. And some people get mad at me. Some people think when they really think about it, they be like, "You're right." Is your family and your friends.
Your family, your friends.
I've gotten more support from people I did not know than I've gotten from my family and my so-called friends. I've built some beautiful relationships with people that developed into friendships because they believed in me. They believed in
Mhm.
what I was doing and they wanted to be a part of it. So
Yeah,
I don't get caught up on that stuff like, blood thicker than mud and family first. I don't do all that. Not,
yeah,
I'm just saying that's just me. And people gonna
yeah.
do what they want to do. But
Because at some point, it really have to come down to who's for you, who really has your back, and sometimes you have to just show family and friends. You can't really tell them. You have to
mhm.
like show them. And when you talk about the people that are not supporting you, I remember I heard someone saying, beware of dream stealers. And my thing is, dream stealers really not the people out there that's going to take your ideas. Sometimes the dream stealers are, like you said, our family and friends. And it's not that they're going to take anything and do with your idea. They're not going to take your idea and do anything with it. They just don't want you to do anything with it.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, people know when you get to a certain place, you're going to leave them where they're at.
Exactly.
So and that caused a lot of issues. So we're coming to a close here. We've been having a lot of comments here. Hey Tony, I always follow your dream, be the best version of yourself. Yes. Shaniqua, his clarity is awesome. Yes, so you have to be clear. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we get caught up in different situations that we shouldn't be in because we're not clear. Because you have people that receiving that negative feedback, but they still there.
If,
So we
if,
have to get clear about the things.
definitely. I mean, if I'm gonna say, I share this with people all the time.
Hmm.
If I allowed people or a lot of people that had opinions about me
Hmm.
or felt I should have did something different, I wouldn't be who I am today. I
Wow.
mean, like I said, I literally had when I told some of my friends, "Hey, man, you know what? I want to start working with kids, man, so they don't go to prison like I did." They laughed at me like, "What, man? Sit down somewhere. That don't make sense." And I was like, "Okay, I got to cut you off because me and you ain't on the same page.
Yeah.
You definitely don't. You say you my friend, but you. I mean, I mean, even if when I say support, it can be an encouraging word.
Yeah.
I mean, just say, well, brother, that's your dream. If you go after it, I don't need you. If I'm in a space in my life where I'm trying to really figure out what my niche is or what I want my path to be, and I'm sharing that with you, um, out of confidence. I don't need you laughing at me or thinking that's a stupid idea or whatever. Even if it's something you don't agree with, say, well, did you do the research? I would, or let me call somebody for you to, that I know that do that kind of work to kind of give you some insight on that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, a lot of people don't do that. And it's like you said earlier, a lot of people don't want to see you excel. Some
Exactly.
people like to see you in this position where they feel like you're beneath them, or they try to spoon feed you stuff so they can feel like you need them.
Exactly.
And I've experienced that a lot in my life. And a lot of times it came from family and friends. Like I got friends who I consider they're wealthy. Well, I ain't gonna say they're okay. And they see my struggles and they seen the things that I was trying to do, and wouldn't support me in no way. I mean, wouldn't even come to a speaking event. Like, and that's what I mean by, if you support me, if I say, hey man, I'm speaking at such and such, or I'm doing this, I want you to come out. And you be like, okay, I'm gonna come. I'm looking for you. And you don't even call, or when I call you and say, hey man, I thought you said you was coming out. Oh man, something came up. No, it's not even, I apologize, bro. Next time I try to make it. See, that's support, because that affects people. That affects a person's, confidence. It affects, it makes people doubt whether they're cared about or that you care about them. And a lot of people are insensitive to the needs of others. So.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Yeah, you got to have the support system. So we are coming to a close. I do want to thank everybody that has joined me on tonight. To those going to be watching this replay, and also those going to be listening to the podcast, thank you so much. So we're coming to the question. I call it the question on the table.
Oh Lord, what you gonna hit me with? Lord have mercy.
So here's the thing, you shared your journey. We saw like took the journey with you, like the path you're taking. So I want to come from a perspective of footprints, and these are always spiritual, mental, and emotional questions. Here the answers are. So if you had to take 5 steps, and it's going to be imprinted, but then they're like youth, let's just deal with our youth. They're going to come behind you, and they're going to step into the imprints that you're leaving. What are they stepping into? What are the 5 things that you're going to leave in order that they can walk and be successful in life and continue on the right path? That's going to affect them spiritually, mentally, and emotionally.
I would say self-love.
Okay.
Would be number 1, teaching them how to love themselves. Being confident. Establishing goals and accomplishing those goals. To be empowered, definitely to because when you're empowered, you feel great. It does something for you. It says, yeah, okay, cool. And definitely, I would say the last thing would be greatness, so they can be great. I want them to be great.
Okay, so you're gonna the 5 steps you're gonna leave, or the 5 imprints: self-love, confidence, the ability to establish goals, empowerment, and greatness.
Yeah.
That wasn't such a bad question.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. You just, I didn't know what to expect. You was like, I got something for you at the end. I ain't gonna tell you what it is. I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, definitely, I would definitely do that, because those are the things that ultimately I want people. I've worked with so many damaged young people. I was damaged myself, and part of that came from not loving myself. And it was like, after that, all those other things played. I said those things because those things helped me become successful. When I look at those 5 things I gave you, are the 5 things that helped me become successful.
That is awesome. That's like one of the best parts of the show. I know we're ending, but just to hear people what they will leave and what they would give other people for them to be successful in life.
Mhm.
Because when it all comes down to it, you're like doing all of those things in the curriculums and going speaking to the youth and all of those other things. So that's awesome. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining us on tonight with my special guest, author Art Powell. He is the owner of Egress Consultants and Services. He's also a credible messenger and a life skills coach. You can get in contact with him at his website, egressconsultantservices.com, and that's EGRESS. You can also email art at artpower.ceo@gmail.com. You can follow him on Facebook at author.art.powell and on Instagram at artpower_credible_messenger. So, Art, do you have any final words for us tonight?
Yeah, definitely. Strive for greatness. I guess the question is, what do you want your legacy to be? And what do you, and when you look at your legacy, you know, are you putting the things in place to be great and leave a legacy behind where people can say great things about you? All I'm building is my legacy, right? That's my focus right now. Is my legacy.
Wow.
You know.
That's awesome. That reminds me of a friend of mine. He always talks about leaving his legacy, doing sort of like the same work you're doing, but it's not through, I'm quite sure through his seed also, but you're leaving legacy in the people that you come in contact with.
Right.
So
Exactly.
your legacy would never die as long as those people are alive, and then whoever they imparted into. So it just keeps going on and on and on.
Right.
So I want to thank you again, Art, for joining me on tonight. Thank you for all of those that tuned in to watch us, for your comments, for just supporting the show on tonight. So I do want to thank you all. You can join me next Thursday again at 7:00 p.m. for another edition of Change the Channel. No static, no interference. And until the next time, everyone, goodbye and God bless.
Thank you for having me.